What's up, guys? We're back. We're rolling. We're on our way to Mammoth. It's Sunday, a little after 9 o'clock. We're just getting out of Bakersfield here, getting towards the east side of town, and it's already 90 degrees. I knew it was going to be hot, so I wanted to. Normally, I don't really take off till about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but I'm trying to beat the heat somewhat. I know it's still going to be pretty warm when I go through the desert, but I thought I better get an early start and get up there, get settled, and be ready for the wild week ahead. We got a lot of stuff on the burner, all kinds of things we got to do next week. Yeah, so we're rolling. It's been a kind of a heavy weekend. Got some news yesterday about the Mammoth motocross incident. We had they had an accident up there, and a young rider was killed. And terrible tragedy. I don't know that anything like that's ever happened in Mammoth on the motocross track. But yeah, it was a freak accident and a racing incident, and unfortunately he didn't make it. And it really hit me hard because I'm into motocross and all that, and we've all seen the injuries and things like that, and we know that things like that can happen, and it's a real eye-opener. It really wakes you up, and it puts a lot of things in perspective. The people around you and your circle, just make sure you tell them that you appreciate them and you love them, and because you just never know. I mean, it could happen to anybody at any time, driving down the highway, but unfortunately this young rider was chasing his dreams. He was up and coming in the sport, very well known in the motocross community, and the family. I just want to put out there for the video that our prayers and our thoughts are with you, and that I don't know what else to say. We'll be praying for you, and for you to get through this and carry on. I know I couldn't imagine losing my son, any of our kids, at any time in life, but let alone at 16 years old. So pretty tragic, and just wanted to touch on that. It's not the best way to start out a video, but I did want to say something for the family there, and just let everyone know that our hearts and prayers are with them, and we're thinking of them. So we're going to keep moving. We're going to get on up the highway here, and if we see anything interesting, we'll share it. And probably the rest of this video will be most of it done tomorrow, but hope everybody's having a good weekend out there, and stick around. We'll see what we come up with. Well, this is pretty interesting. They're pulling a buggy with some mule. Looks like mules. I had to get the camera out real quick for that one. We're getting close to Walker Pass here. It's only 88 up right in here. It's going to warm up quite a bit when we cross over the top. So right here at the pass, we're all the way down to 82, right as you go over the top. And then it's going to heat back up. I think it'll get all the way to 100 by the time we get to the bottom, which is about 5 or 6 miles down, right down into the Mojave Desert. So we just went over Walker Pass here. Fairly uneventful, except for the donkeys pulling the stagecoach. Well, here we are about 17 miles out of Atlanta. Just about ready to enter the gateway to the Sierra, they call it. Basically right up there on the top of that horizon line there. And not as hot as I thought, 93. You know, it's about 10 degrees warmer down here. I think hitting through here before 12 o'clock helps with that, because something about 1 or 2 o'clock coming through here is blistering this time of the year. So we're just plugging away. There's a pretty cool little vintage teardrop. That's awesome. Well, we're about through Bishop here. 95 here. Surprisingly, a little hotter here, but it's later in the day too, so getting ready to go up the grade here. Nice and green. Beautiful up here this time of year. A little bit hot, but other than that, been watching a few things come through. I just heard about an explosion in DC. A van exploded. They don't know what it was yet. They don't know what caused it, but pretty big explosion from what I could see. And that's just heard about it, I don't know, 30 minutes ago. But I did hear yesterday and the day before they were barricading around the White House, kind of like they did during COVID and the riots and all that stuff. So some people are saying, oh, there's a big announcement coming, or you know, maybe it's 4th of July, they're just planning ahead for that. Who knows? Seems like the Israel-Iran conflict is kind of dying down, and I don't know about the stuff with Ukraine. I don't really pay attention to that one too much. I hear about, I think they try to keep bringing it back into perspective, you know, especially now that the Iran thing's kind of gone away, but they're always trying to keep something in front of you, keep you distracted. And you know, that goes back to my good old conspiracy theories, you know, with all the stuff that I think. But I do believe, you know, that kind of we're all in a big movie here, and that's how it's gone throughout history for the last, you know, at least close to 100 years now. It's always been that way, but now they've just gotten more and more able to, the information gets out, they're able to kind of direct the masses with the information that they put out or don't put out, you know, however they decide to play, you know, that day. And you know, I've talked about it before with, you know, the politicians, to me, on both sides are they're just like the divorce attorneys, right? You know, they're getting in front of TV and they're fighting for their side on camera every day, and you know, they say that they're concerned about this or that, when in reality they're just like the attorneys. They are only concerned about what they can get. You know, what's it going to do for me? How's it going to further my career? How am I going to benefit from this? That's the true motive for what they do. And then at the end of the day, just like the divorce attorneys, you know, there's a bar that the politicians go to, and there's a bar that lawyers go to, and there's a bar that cops go to. Well, you know, they get together at the end of the day, and they go have a drink with the same guy that they were fighting with on TV earlier, and you know, and they're talking strategies, just like the divorce attorneys are talking strategies on how they're going to divide up, they're going to divide the money up, for the couple that's getting divorced. And to me, I've always equated that. Makes perfect sense to me, and that's my little thought as I'm driving here. Just kind of, for the most part of the drive, I just do my thinking, and kind of, it's almost meditational, to just, I don't listen to the radio or anything. I just kind of drive, and just like I'm talking to you guys right now on the camera, I talk to myself a lot. And I think ever since I started doing the YouTube, I've noticed that I actually talk to myself a lot more, because I kind of narrate what I'm doing when I'm doing things. And I don't really find it weird. I think a lot of people probably do that. I just noticed that ever since I started doing the YouTube stuff, I do that a lot more. I'm pretty much having a conversation with myself everywhere I go. So yeah, maybe you could say I'm a little crazy, but you know what? A lot of times I spend a lot of time alone driving, and going out and checking these deals and doing these different things, and I'm pretty much talking to myself the whole time about what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna say. Should I offer this much money, or should I sell this for that, or what should I do? And I do that with my business, with my personal problems, anything. I do a lot of talking to myself on how to solve those problems. And you might find that interesting. You might think it's weird, but that's just me. I got off on a little tangent there, but we're almost to Mammoth. 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll be there in less than an hour. If everything goes as planned, we'll be there in less than an hour. We're gonna go check the mail, get to the house, get the car unloaded, get the dogs out, get settled, and I'm gonna relax the rest of the day. I've been going like crazy the last 7 or 8 days, every day. So I get up at 4 in the morning, and I do my routine every day. It's like I don't have an alarm clock either. Like typically, like I'm starting to wake up at like 3:30, 4 in the morning. Once in a while, I'll get up a little earlier. I don't really like to. I try to at least sleep until 4, and then I'm up. I'm doing my routine. That takes me typically about an hour to 2 hours. I don't like to rush. Have my baking soda, sit in the hot tub. I love to sit in the hot tub. I do that every day. And I soak in that hot tub. I meditate, I pray, I do all that in the hot tub. It's kind of my thing. Then I'll have my coffee. And I don't like to rush through my coffee. I like to drink my coffee nice and slow. Get on the computer, send a couple of emails. Pretty much I've done my emailing for the day by 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I get out there and I get into it. And usually I'm done by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes later, but most of the time it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm back at the house and I'm winding down, and I wind down, and we'll usually have dinner. We don't usually eat after 4 or 5 o'clock, and that's just because I like to do the fasting in the mornings. Once in a while, well, most of the time I'll eat about 1 o'clock, and then once in a while I'll have something, just something small around 4 o'clock, and then we're in bed by 8 o'clock every night, and we don't necessarily fall asleep at 8 o'clock, but we're in bed and we're watching something on TV, or just hanging out, scrolling in social media sometimes. That's kind of where I find the time to all these crazy theories that I have with the flat earth and the local sun and the moon and the firmament. Now, not a whole lot of people talk about that firmament anymore, and I'm not going to get too crazy off into the flat earth and all that right now, but that's just another piece of the puzzle for me that solidifies that, you know, the Earth is a stationary, non-moving object. The stars are revolving around us. And but one of the interesting things that I've noticed as of late is early in the morning when I get out there, and I get out there to go get in the hot tub, a lot of times I'll walk out in the backyard and I'll just look up at the stars. And if you look to the south or the north or the east or the west, the stars seem to look like they're a lot further away, like, you know, you can't really see them as good. But almost every time when you look directly overhead, and even in Bakersfield, when the you know, the smog and all the whatever in the air, they still look like, just like you can almost reach out and touch them. And that's typically directly overhead, and then as you look further out, they seem to look further away. And to me, that coincides with the firmament being, you know, around 600,000 feet, somewhere in that neighborhood, overhead. So, you know, roughly that's what is that, like 180 miles up, something like that, 200 miles, somewhere in there. And then, but if you were looking out this way, you'd be seeing stars that were several thousand miles away, you know. And I truly believe, you know, there is a firmament. It's in the Bible. It's what God says. The sun and the moon are local. They revolve with the stars around us. And water is flat. And, you know, the Antarctic Circle is a ring of ice that encompasses the entire thing. That's basically what holds everything in. And the firmament, actually, you know, they say it's an ice wall. It's basically an ice wall. And so that makes sense, because when you look at stars through a high-powered telescope, which I have 2 of them, they actually look like they are illuminating in liquid. And you can totally recreate that same thing with a bowl of water out in the sun, and or even just a bowl of water on your countertop and shining a flashlight into it. It mimics what a star actually looks like. And so, you know, the old sayings in the Bible and all that is the heavens above, the firmament, the waters above. So everything in the heavens is essentially water, and the firmament's holding out the water. And then you start thinking about the floods, the Noah's Ark and all that, right? So how did the earth flood for, you know, 40 days and 40 nights? Well, if the firmament was to break or had a hole in it, that'd be one way to do it. But I'll refrain from much more of that kind of talk. We're almost to Mammoth, and let me know what you guys think in the comments about the stuff going on in DC right now. If you've heard anything, or if anybody knows anything. I'm kind of curious about it. It's been all over the wire the last couple of hours, so I'm curious to see what comes of that.